Okay, welcome back. We're speaking, as I said, with the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, Dr. Nuhu Toro. He's joining us live, remotely. Okay, so we've spoken about there are strikes in some states, a couple of states, and it could widen if, in the estimation of the TUC, which, by the way, I think people know, concerns itself with senior employees, if they feel that enough, weight isn't being pulled by those people. In this regard, let me come to the matter of why will people not pull their weight? Why will people not? Sorry, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Okay. Why will people not pull their weight? Because I'm thinking that you sign agreements here, and so after agreements have been signed, what is your experience in terms of complying with those agreements?
Well, that is another hurdle to cross. I can tell you, beyond signing of agreements, employers and government most times have reneged. In fact, in some instances, they will tell us, "Oh, sorry, we sign it out of ignorance." You can imagine that. So we are determined. We are determined to leave no stone unturned until we ensure that those agreements are followed to the logical conclusion. We will ensure that we follow them through so that their implementation will be apt and in no distant time. That I can assure you will also pull through.
So, I mean, this is news. This is a surprise to most listeners, I'm sure, that you have experiences where people that you've signed agreements with come back and say that, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. We signed it in error.
Oh, yeah. Severally, we have had instances that you sign agreement and they will be foot dragging. Implementation becomes a terrible thing. So those kind of divisionary tactics we are not also mindful of, and you can be rest assured that we'll do the needful to ensure that we pull such negotiations through.
Okay. Now, I want to return to an issue that I brought up earlier, and I think you have addressed it, but I do want a bit more clarification on it, where you said that it's not about just announcing a figure. There are other ancillary matters that come along with every agreement that has been reached. Does this mean that, I really want to know what that means. When something has happened and there's been an increase in the agreed salary, for example, I suppose it has an effect on certain other things, perhaps more than a few other things. Is this where the challenge is?
Well, I'm surprised you are making this comment. Have you not heard of a situation in Nigeria where you sign an agreement and they tell you there is no ability to pay? On several occasions, we had signed agreement with government and employers, and they will tell you, oh, there's no ability to pay. When they put the numbers together, they now realize that it's humongously high and they cannot pay. Sorry, we have to renegotiate. That has been done before, and which is a violation of the principles of collective bargaining. So that's why we are being preemptive to say we have also not unmindful of those kind of tactics, and we are indeed moving ahead to think of how, in the event if they occur, to dispense with them spontaneously.
Okay, so in case anybody is just joining us, you can see from the caption there that the TUC is saying that it is going to take very, very seriously, the actions of states who are not pulling their weight as far as it is concerned in implementing the minimum wage. When you talk about minimum wage, you don't usually think of senior civil servants, senior staff in the same sentence. So how does that work? TUC primarily concerns itself with senior workers. So are we talking about minimum wage for senior workers as well?
Again, that assertion is not correct, because you don't forget, both senior, junior, and whoever goes to the same market. use the same denomination to buy an item. So when you say minimum, the benchmark is something that you need to deal with. If you deal with the minimum, then of course its attendant consequential adjustment will follow suit. So if you are under the illusion that senior staff don't need minimum wage, then you are absolutely wrong.
Yeah, but the minimum wage is, it's usually, I think we're talking about the least paid worker. And
that is why the concept of consequential adjustment comes in.
Okay.
It has to go down all through. That is where the concept of consequential adjustment comes through. And without the minimum wage, you cannot determine what, for instance, a level 14 officer will be paid.
Okay.
That is it.
That is it now. That is where I wanted you, and you have just obliged. This is where I wanted some clarification, because as you know, not all viewers will be experts. But I thank you very much for, explaining that. Well,
thank you very much
it goes
for having
up.
me. I also appreciate it.
It goes up and it goes down. I mean, if we're talking about minimum wage for the least paid worker, oh, I'm sorry, your phone just went into landscape. Well, I think portrait mode, but we just wanted the other side with the way it was before. I think when you, okay. So that's important. And now let's talk a bit about the workers. And here I am not on anybody's side. The cost of the Naira, the exchange rate of the Naira, is being blamed for everything. What is the view of the Congress on this? When I say everything, I'm talking about escalating prices, escalating costs of everything. And meanwhile, you have already had... I just wanted...
You are absolutely correct.
Yeah.
The monster bedeviling Nigeria as a nation is the exchange rate, because the exchange rate is unimaginable. And because Nigeria is an import-led country, virtually almost everything that comes in, has to be through this exchange rate. And until government comes out with a clear policy to tame the exchange rates volatility, we will continue in this vicious circle. So we think government needs to act, and decisively too, in ensuring that this is nipped in the bud, and as soon as possible.
Because even look at fuel and transportation, and look at the imbroglio almost that we seem to be in with petroleum marketers and refiners not being able to agree, threatening that, well, not so much threatening as advising us that they have already imported fuel. This is something that we thought we wouldn't be hearing of very, very much nowadays, but we are now hearing that, because of cost considerations, if domestic refineries are not able to, play ball, so to speak, so that it's worth their while as businessmen, then they are going to import. So they will, in fact, the latest I've just heard now, that I'm sure you also know about it, is that the petroleum marketers want a rate from the latest, from the recently resuscitated refinery. They want a rate that is lower, going to be lower than the Dangote refinery. Okay, I'm just hearing that, network fluctuations, and we lost our guest there. So we're waiting to get him back again. And, I think there must also be, something of a challenge with the phones as well, because one, this is the kind of a subject that a lot of our viewers would have called in on ordinarily. So I'm just guessing that they must be trying, but perhaps not being met with very much success. So here we have it. As you could see, the Secretary General was a bit brusque with me. He even accused me of being on one side or the other, simply for suggesting that nobody wants to go on strike ordinarily, and he says that's a capitalist. You heard it if you did hear it. So, but here we are. We're just trying to find out on the situation. And we've come to an interesting aspect of the conversation, which I'm sure as soon as we get him back, he'll be able to comment on. The whole situation of costs, prices, it's almost impossible. And it's all going back to the exchange rate. And we keep on hearing from the central bank that everything that can be done is being done. And we're even hearing that if you look at it globally, improvements are being made. The problem, of course, is that the ordinary person doesn't see these. They're lost in the matrix there somewhere, whereas there might be, when you take a very long view at it, just like when you're in space and you can see the whole world as a ball. You remember that, that blue ball you see from outer space. That's the world. You have a very long view. So I guess, the experts in the finance sector are telling us that when you look at it like that, things are indeed coming on, but not such that the ordinary person knows what it's all about. And in the midst of all of this, labor unions will do what they do, which is look out for the welfare. And if costs are escalating like this, then they too know that it's an impossible situation to live in. And so, palliatives, yes, more money, certainly. But then we just heard, for those who didn't know what exactly the issue was, we just heard that not all the parties that signed agreements to move in a particular way actually are able to deliver. In fact, the one that shocked me a bit is that since you have only senior people, I imagine, coming to the negotiating table, knowledgeable and senior people, to hear from the Secretary General, Dr. Nuhu Toro of TUC, that there have been instances where officials will come back and say, I'm not sure we have agreement because when we were signing that thing, we didn't know. This is what will make people, just grab their forehead and said, oh dear, what is going on? As must Nigeria continue to happen? They will say that derogatorily, but this is where we're at. As soon as we can get him back, we will come back. And by now, I think I can assert that we are having a telephone problem. Otherwise, viewers would have called in to weigh in on this matter as well. But as we stand, Cross River and Zamfara states are already, in the action that has been threatened if there was not a sort of a better comeback from those states. Okay, we'll take another break. Stay with us, please.